Claude Sonnet 5 changes the old Claude Rule. Sonnet used to mean cheaper and faster. Opus used to mean smartest. Now Sonnet 5 gets close enough to Opus 4.8 that the real question becomes, why pay Opus prices every time? The old choice was clean. Use Sonnet when you need speed and lower cost. Use Opus when the task is hard enough to justify the premium. Sonnet 5 makes that chart messy because Anthropic positions it as the most agentic Sonnet model so far. Agentic work means the model does more than answer one prompt. It plans, calls tools, reads files, uses browsers, runs terminals, checks results, and keeps moving. That matters because AI work is shifting from chat answers to completed workflows. Anthropic says Sonnet 5 improves over Sonnet 4.6 in reasoning, tool use, coding, and knowledge work. Early testers describe better follow-through on complex tasks. The important phrase is not smarter chat. It is finishing the job. The context window is the headline spec. Sonnet 5 supports up to 1 million tokens of context and up to 128,000 output tokens. That is built for large code bases, long transcripts, research folders, logs, and agents that need memory bigger than a goldfish bowl. For developers and researchers, that context changes the working style. You can hand the model a repo map, issue history, failing logs, and design notes in one session. Then it can produce a long patch plan or a detailed report without constantly losing the plot. The API changes are also a signal. Sonnet 5 drops classic sampling knobs like temperature, top P, and top K. Adaptive thinking is on by default unless you disable it. That feels restrictive if you love tuning dials, but it can make agent runs more consistent. Pricing is the obvious reason people care. Intro pricing is $2 per million input tokens and $10 per million output tokens through August 31, 2026. After that, it becomes $3 and $15. Opus 4.8 sits at $5 and $25. Here is the catch. Sonnet 5 uses a new tokenizer, so the same prompt can become more tokens than it was on Sonnet 4.6. Depending on the content, teams may see roughly 1.0 to 1.35 times as many tokens. The pricing table is not the full bill. Benchmarks are where the story gets interesting. On SWE bench-style coding evaluations, Sonnet 5 moves much closer to Opus 4.8. Opus still tends to lead on the hardest ambiguous engineering tasks, but Sonnet is close enough that the cost gap starts shouting. That matters for everyday engineering. Most tickets are not moon landings. They are broken tests, small refactors, dependency updates, documentation fixes, and multi-file cleanups. If Sonnet 5 handles those reliably, paying Opus rates for every step feels like buying a fire truck for a sink leak. Terminal work is one area where Sonnet 5 looks especially strong. That is not just writing code. It is running commands, reading errors, editing files, rerunning tests, and continuing instead of freezing after the first stack trace like it saw a ghost. Tool use narrows the gap with Opus. Sonnet 5 may not always beat Opus in raw, unaided reasoning, but inside an agent system, it can search, inspect files, run tests, and correct itself. Real workflows reward that loop more than a single perfect paragraph. Knowledge work is another strong use case. Think document analysis, research synthesis, legal style review, business memos, structured summaries, and polished reports. If the workflow is read, organized, and produced, Sonnet 5 may be the better default because quality gets close while cost stays lower. The effort dial is the part to use carefully. Low and medium effort look like the cost-performance sweet spot. Extra high effort can match Opus on some tasks, but reasoning tokens can eat the savings. The smart move is not max effort. It is routing effort by task risk. So why start with Sonnet 5? It fits high volume work, customer support, research pipelines, document processing, classification, extraction, code assistance, and structured automation. These tasks need reliability and scale more than maximum genius on every single call. Opus 4.8 is not obsolete. It still makes sense for extremely complex, ambiguous, high-risk work. If the model needs deep planning, subtle judgment, or error recovery across a messy workflow, Opus can be worth the premium. Nobody wants the bargain model approving a bank migration at 2 a.m. The best setup is model routing, not a winner-takes-all fight. Use Sonnet 5 for reading, summarizing, extracting, formatting, routine agent steps, and most code assistants. Send the hardest planning, final review, high-risk decisions, and messy reasoning to Opus 4.8. The simplest rule is start with Sonnet 5, measure cost per completed task, and move to Opus 4.8 only when the task truly needs peak reliability. Sonnet is the new workhorse. Opus is still the specialist. That is NextToken. See you next time.